The cages of mercy. The stars were quiet that night. Too quiet for a galaxy that once roared with life, trade, and power. In the far sectors, an alien broadcast spread across every major system. It showed cages, hundreds of them made of cold silver metal, lined in perfect rows under a pale red sun. Inside those cages were human children, small, thin, frightened, some crying softly while others stared with hollow eyes. The alien announcer's voice echoed through the feed. "Behold the young of the humans, they are kept safe. They are studied for their nature," he said proudly. But everyone who saw the video knew it was not mercy. It was humiliation, a message to the whole galaxy. Humanity has fallen, and their young belong to us now. On every alien world, citizens gathered in silence to watch. Some laughed, some looked away. They called these camps the cages of mercy, pretending it was science, pretending it was peace. But deep down, even the aliens who obeyed orders felt something wrong in their hearts. Humans were strange creatures, too emotional, too wild, too dangerous to be kept alive. Yet these children looked innocent, pure like fragile stars in the dark. No one knew where the human fleets had gone. Earth had been silent for 5 years after losing the war. The humans disappeared behind their destroyed defenses, leaving behind only ashes and memories. The Alien Council believed humanity was extinct, that their spirit was broken forever. They were wrong. Far beneath the lunar surface, hidden under miles of rock and silence, something ancient began to awaken. In a forgotten human bunker, old machines hummed for the first time in decades. A single message appeared on an old terminal, glowing in green letters. Operation Judgment begins. Across the stars, long sleeping satellites flickered to life. Silent ships turned their sensors on. Black fleets hidden in nebulae received the same signal. Human commanders, long thought dead, opened their eyes inside cryo chambers. They didn't speak, they didn't cheer. They simply nodded. It was time back on the alien prison moon. A guard walked through the corridor between the cages. He looked at the children and felt something heavy in his chest. One small girl looked up at him with big blue eyes and whispered, "They're coming." The guard frowned. "Who?" he asked softly. The girl only smiled, her small hands gripping the bars. "My father," she said. He laughed nervously, thinking it was a child's hope. But his laugh died when the lights flickered above him. Outside, far in the distance, a low hum spread through the atmosphere. The guard stepped to the window, looking up at the black sky, and for a second he thought he saw movement, a shape too big, too dark to be a ship drifting silently between the stars. He rubbed his eyes, but it was gone in the control tower. Alien officers were busy recording new propaganda messages. They didn't notice that all their star relays near Earth were going dark. One by one, "Probably a storm in the solar sector," one of them said carelessly. Another officer replied, "Earth is dead. There's nothing left there to fear." But deep in space, behind the orbit of Neptune, a human dreadnought silently adjusted its trajectory. Its engines dark, its guns warm. The ship's name appeared in faint white letters across the hull. HSS Retribution. The Alien Council chamber was full of laughter that night. They were celebrating the Mercy broadcast, to remind every species that rebellion against them was useless. "Humans were fierce once, but they burned fast," said the Grand Minister, sipping from a crystal cup. "They were like fire, bright, dangerous, but short-lived." A younger officer hesitated before asking, "Sir, what if they are not gone?" The minister chuckled. "Then where are they? We have their children. Their ships are scrap. Their worlds are ash. What can ghosts do against empires?" At that same moment, across the dark side of the moon, seismic sensors began to shake. Machines buried for generations roared to life, nuclear hearts beating once again. A fleet that no one remembered began to rise from hidden hangars. Sleek black ships with no lights, their hulls marked with the symbol of Earth. They moved without sound, without transmission, only purpose. The Judgment Fleet had returned. The alien scientists on the prison moon felt the ground tremble beneath their feet. One ran to the monitors and gasped, "There's movement underground." Before he could report, every screen in the facility turned black, replaced by a single human symbol. A blue circle with a white star. Then a voice, calm, cold, and human, echoed through every speaker. "You caged our children," the voice said. "Now face humanity's judgment." Silence followed, complete and heavy. Outside, the night sky turned bright as something vast appeared above the moon's horizon. It was not light from the sun. It was reflection from steel. 1,000 human ships surrounded the moon in total silence, their weapons locked, their engines cold. No one could believe it, the humans were back, and they had come for their children. The alien officer screamed into his comm, "Contact the Council, now!" But there was no response. Every galactic communication relay blinked red, then black. The galaxy that had laughed at humanity suddenly realized what silence truly meant. Because when Earth goes silent, it is never peace. It is the sound before the storm. It is the breath before the fire. And tonight the storm had come. The silent return, the alien prison moon hung in stillness, wrapped in a thin veil of silence. The guards moved nervously through the corridors, their boots echoing on metal floors, the sound sharper now, heavier, as if the air itself had grown afraid. The children inside the cages were awake, all of them, staring upward through the cracked ceiling plates. No one cried anymore. No one begged, they just watched. Wide-eyed and quiet, they could feel something. Something powerful approaching in the control tower. An alien officer checked his scanners, frowning. "Interference in the outer field again," he muttered. "Maybe a magnetic storm," another replied, trying to stay calm. But when he tapped the sensor, the readings changed. Hundreds of strange signals blinked in and out of the radar like ghosts. No sound, no engine trace, no transponder code, only silence. A technician whispered, "Could it be humans?" The officer laughed, but his voice cracked. "Impossible. They're extinct," before he could finish. Every light in the command center flickered and died. The air filled with a soft hum. Low and steady like a distant heartbeat. Then the main viewing screen flashed to life. Showing the surface of space, the officers leaned forward and froze. Something huge moved across the void, blocking the stars one by one. At first, they thought it was a shadow or a cloud of debris, but then the light from the nearby sun caught on black metal, revealing the shape of a colossal ship. It had no name on its hull, no signal, no glow, only the faint outline of an Earth insignia etched like a scar. A single human dreadnought had arrived, and it was not alone. Behind it, hundreds of vessels emerged from stealth, each the size of a city, forming ranks in perfect silence. The fleet stretched from horizon to horizon. The humans had returned, and the galaxy's worst nightmare had just come true. On the prison moon, alarms finally began to wail. But it was too late. The human ships had already surrounded the facility. Their guns locked, their systems synchronized. The alien commander shouted orders. "Raise shields, call reinforcements." But nothing worked. Their communication arrays were jammed, their energy fields offline. Even the orbital satellites were dead. It was as if the very stars had turned against them, deep inside the prison sector. The children pressed their faces to the bars through the skylight above. They saw a streak of white light crossing the sky, then another and another. To them, it looked like falling stars, beautiful and bright, but to the aliens, it was death. Drop pods, thousands of them, cutting through the clouds like fire. The first pods hit the surface with thunder. Shaking the entire base, the alien guards rushed to grab their rifles. But the doors around them began to open by themselves. Steam filled the corridors, and figures stepped out. Human Marines in black armor, silent, expressionless, moving like shadows. Their eyes glowed red beneath their helmets. Reflecting pure rage, they didn't speak, they didn't shout, they just advanced. One slow step after another. The aliens opened fire, but the bullets bounced off the human armor. In seconds, the Marines returned fire, every shot precise, every target falling without a scream. The sound of gunfire was strangely muted, replaced by the thudding rhythm of human boots. Each movement carried a message. "You caged our children. Now face your fate." The alien commander ran to the broadcast room, trying to send a distress signal to the High Council. He slammed his hand on the console. "This is Command Base Theta under attack. We need—" But his voice cut off, the screen turned black, and a single line of human text appeared in white letters. "Transmission blocked. Judgment in progress." Outside, the human fleet began a silent operation. Ships unfolded massive panels, releasing waves of drones that moved like silver clouds. They didn't fire yet. They simply surrounded every escape route, every possible path. No one could run, no one could hide. Inside the corridors, the Marines reached the cages. One soldier stopped, kneeling in front of a small boy clutching a broken toy. He took off his helmet, revealing a scarred human face, eyes tired but kind. The child whispered, "Are you real?" The soldier smiled softly. "We never left," he said, breaking the lock with a single hit. The children began to cry again, not from fear, but from relief. Elsewhere, the alien officers tried to regroup in the hangar bay. One shouted, "We can negotiate. We didn't know it was the Council's order." But no one listened. A blinding blue light filled the bay as a human cruiser descended overhead. The words Retribution Division glowed faintly on its side, and from its loudspeakers came the same calm human voice that had once terrified empires. "This is the Human Judgment Fleet," the voice said. "You are surrounded. Surrender and face trial. Resist and be erased." The aliens froze, trembling. No one dared to move, no one dared to breathe. The silence was heavier than fear. Back in orbit, the main human dreadnought opened a single channel to the galactic network. It sent a message to every alien system involved in the child camps. The message contained no threats, no insults, only one simple sentence: "Judgment begins at dawn." Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched the signal in horror. Some tried to flee, some ordered evacuations, but deep down they knew it was useless. Human fleets had already appeared in every sector, silent and waiting. On the prison moon, the human commander stood outside the cages. He watched as medics tended to the rescued children. He turned to his officers and said quietly, "Prepare the broadcast. Let them see what they've done." A soldier nodded, uploading live footage to every major network. The galaxy saw the truth. The cages, the children, the tears, the symbols of Earth behind them. And then, one more message appeared beneath the feed. "This is not war, this is judgment." The alien commander dropped his weapon, his voice shaking. "What have we done?" The human replied softly, "You woke the dead." Outside, the human ships realigned, their engines glowing softly blue. The next phase was about to begin, and for the first time in galactic history, every star seemed to dim, because humanity had returned, and they had come in silence. The reckoning. The human marines moved like shadows through the smoking corridors. The air was thick with dust. Sparks fell from the ceilings, and the red lights blinked in rhythm with the soldiers' footsteps. Everywhere they went, silence followed. The alien guards tried to fight, but each one fell before they could even raise their weapons. The humans were not just soldiers anymore. They were ghosts of vengeance, calm and unstoppable. In the command center, the alien general clutched his chest, staring at the live feeds. His soldiers were dying. His bases were falling, every defense collapsing without a sound. He whispered, "This can't be possible." But deep inside, he knew the truth. Humanity had been waiting for this day. He shouted, "Destroy the cages, eliminate the evidence." But his officers hesitated, their hands shaking. "No," one of them said. "They'll find us anyway." The human dreadnought hung above the moon like a silent god, its guns still idle, its shields glowing faintly blue. It didn't need to fire. Its presence alone crushed the spirit of every living being on that planet. Inside its control room, Admiral Raines stood before a holographic map. Every blinking red dot represented an alien world tied to the Mercy program. He stared at the map, his voice quiet and sharp. "Target confirmed," he said. "Send the message." Across the galaxy, every alien system received the same transmission. No fancy introduction, no speeches, only 4 words. "This is humanity's judgment." The galaxy froze, trade stopped, communications fell silent, and every empire that once laughed at Earth began to tremble. The broadcast showed the cages, the children, and the moment the human fleet arrived, billions watched as human soldiers freed the captives. For the first time, the aliens saw themselves as monsters through human eyes. Back on the moon, the Marines reached the central chamber. Inside, hundreds of alien officers huddled together, trembling. The human commander, Captain Vale, stepped forward, his armor scorched, his helmet under his arm. "You called them specimens," he said quietly, pointing to the rescued children. "They are our future, and you put them in cages." No one answered. Vale raised his hand, and one by one, his soldiers turned on their helmet cameras. "This is not for revenge," he said. "This is for truth." The recording went live. Beaming across every known channel, the alien council watched helplessly, their reputations turning to ash. Crowds gathered on alien streets, some shouting, some crying. Parents who once supported the war now hid their faces in shame. The words, human judgment, spread faster than light. In space, the human fleet moved into formation. The Judgment Fleet consisted of 7 main dreadnoughts and thousands of smaller ships, each one named after a human virtue: honor, mercy, courage, faith, justice, wrath, and hope. The dreadnought Wrath led the assault, its engines glowing crimson like the heart of a dying star. Below, the alien prison facilities began to collapse as orbital strikes hit precise coordinates. Not a single child was harmed, not a single civilian target touched. Human precision was terrifying, surgical, divine. On one alien capital world, the Senate gathered in panic. They tried to open communications with Earth, but no signal came. Only silence. One senator shouted, "We can't fight them. They're not an army anymore. They're judgment itself." Inside the human flagship, Admiral Rains stood before his officers. He said softly, "When they burned our worlds, we mourned. When they took our children, we hid. Now, we judge." He pressed a command key, and massive holograms appeared above every captured alien ship. The holograms showed the faces of the rescued children smiling, safe. Then the message: "They are free. Your crimes are not." Panic swept through the alien ranks. Ships tried to flee, but human AI fleets were already waiting in every direction. Invisible ships uncloaked near their jump points, blocking escape routes. Each one transmitted a single phrase before firing. Sentence carried out. Back on the moon, Captain Vale guided the last group of rescued children to the landing bay. The youngest boy, maybe 6 years old, tugged on his armor and asked, "Will they hurt us again?" Vale looked down, eyes soft behind his scars. "No," he said. "They'll never touch a human again." The boy smiled, holding his hand tight. As they boarded the ship, the commander turned to his soldiers and said, "Mark this world for cleansing. We leave nothing behind." The human dreadnoughts began their withdrawal, silent as they came. But before leaving orbit, one ship released a beacon. It transmitted a warning to all who would ever watch. Touch one human child and your world will burn. In the alien high command, chaos ruled. Worlds surrendered. Empires fell apart. Fleets refused to fight. The name human, once spoken with mockery, was now whispered with dread. The council attempted to open peace talks, but the response they received froze their hearts. A single human AI voice answered. "Peace was an option before the cages," it said. "Now, only judgment remains." The transmission ended. In that moment, every alien leader understood what humanity had become. Not conquerors, not destroyers, but something far worse. A mirror of their own cruelty. The galaxy watched as the stars themselves seemed to bend in silence. For the first time in 1,000 years, no one dared to breathe the word war. In orbit, Admiral Rains looked down at the glowing moon below. He whispered to his crew, "This is not revenge, this is memory." And as the Judgment Fleet turned away, its engines lit the darkness like dawn. The galaxy would never forget the night the humans returned, because that night justice wore a human face. The fall of empires. The galaxy burned in silence. From one system to another, human fleets moved like shadows, striking and vanishing before anyone could react. No grand speeches, no banners, only judgment carried by fire and steel. Planets that once mocked Earth now trembled under the crimson glow of human dreadnoughts orbiting above them. The message was always the same. You touched our children. On the alien capital world of Jareen, the High Council gathered in fear. The great hall that once echoed with arrogance now shook with panic. One minister shouted, "We must surrender before they reach us." Another slammed his fist. "Surrender to animals? Never." But his words broke when the lights flickered and the sky outside turned red. Through the glass dome, they saw it. Hundreds of human ships descending from the clouds, their formation perfect, their silence absolute. Every broadcast tower on the planet came alive. Without warning, every citizen saw the same image. A human child, once caged, now standing free. Behind her, a line of human soldiers raised the Earth flag against the burning horizon. Then a voice spoke, calm and cold. "You called them creatures," it said, "but they called us family." The feed ended with the words glowing across the sky. Mercy was your choice. Judgment was ours. In orbit, the Judgment fleet surrounded Jareen, 7 dreadnoughts aligned like an execution line. Admiral Rains stood on the command bridge, his hands behind his back, watching the holographic map as alien ships tried to scatter. "Do not fire on civilians," he ordered quietly. "Target only command structures and fleets. Let their people see what their rulers built." "Yes, sir," replied the tactical officer. Moments later, blue energy beams sliced through the enemy ships, clean and precise. The alien armada disintegrated in silence, leaving only trails of light fading into the void. Across the stars, news of Jareen's fall spread like wildfire. Empires that once ruled for centuries crumbled overnight. Colonies surrendered before human fleets even arrived. Entire governments sent messages of apology, promising peace, begging for mercy. But humanity didn't reply. Every transmission received the same automated answer. Sentence acknowledged. Review pending. On a small agricultural world called Verus, alien civilians gathered to watch human ships appear in the sky. But instead of destruction, the humans dropped supplies and food, medicine, and messages written in every language. "Your leaders paid the price. Not you," it read. The people wept, not in fear but in shame, because the monsters they once created in propaganda had become saviors wrapped in steel. Meanwhile, in the deep reaches of the galactic rim, a surviving faction of the alien military plotted revenge. Their leader, General Korthos, sneered at the holoscreen showing Earth's fleet. "They think they can scare us with silence," he growled. "Then we will strike their home again." He didn't know the humans were listening. Moments later, every system under his control went dark. A single human stealth ship, the HSS Shadowlight, appeared above his base, transmitting one final message. "You declared extinction. We delivered it in less than a week." Korthos's entire command vanished from the galactic map. No wreckage, no signal, only silence. That silence became the new sound of fear across every empire. Back on Earth, the once abandoned cities had come alive again. Children rescued from alien cages played beneath rebuilt domes. Statues were raised in their honor, not of generals or kings, but of those who were stolen and returned. The human people didn't celebrate victory. They remembered loss. The fleets were renamed from Judgment to Guardian, yet every ship still bore the scars of war. One evening, on the bridge of the flagship Honor, Admiral Rains watched the stars through the observation window. His young officer approached. "Sir, the alien empires have fallen. Their worlds are in chaos. What are your orders?" Rains didn't look away from the stars, his voice low and calm. "We rebuild what they broke," he said, "but they will never forget why we came." He turned, his eyes hard as steel. "And if they do, we remind them across the galaxy. Remnants of alien civilizations tried to rebuild, but their skies were no longer theirs. Human probes watched every system, silent sentinels ensuring no one ever created another cage again, in orbit around countless worlds. Glowing human satellites formed invisible rings. Called judgment rings, they carried no weapons. Only one message broadcasted endlessly. Peace is mercy. Mercy is earned. Years passed and the galaxy learned. Children of every race grew up knowing Earth not as the weak planet that once begged for peace, but as the silent guardian that punished cruelty. The name human became both a blessing and a warning. Parents whispered it to scare their children into obedience. And yet, in secret, those same children dreamed of meeting a human one day, to ask why they showed mercy at all. On the edge of the Milky Way, the last remaining alien emperor sat alone in his ruined palace. He looked out at the night sky, whispering, "Why didn't they destroy us completely?" A small drone hovered before him. Projecting a human face, it answered softly, "Because mercy is what makes us human." The drone turned and vanished into the stars. The emperor fell to his knees, tears in his eyes, and in that moment, he understood the truth. The humans had not conquered the galaxy with power. They had conquered it with the one thing no alien empire had ever known: honor, compassion, and memory. Humanity's final judgment years passed since the fires of judgment swept across the stars. The galaxy was quiet now, too quiet. The great empires that once ruled with iron claws were gone, replaced by silence, memory, and fear. In the shadow of every world, human satellites floated like ghostly eyes, watching, listening, reminding. No one dared speak the word war, not even in dreams above Earth. The Judgment Fleet drifted peacefully in high orbit. Its vast hulls gleamed against the sun like sleeping titans resting after a storm. Each ship bore the scars of countless battles, their surfaces etched with the names of fallen worlds and lost children. No longer symbols of wrath, they had become monuments of remembrance. On the bridge of the flagship Honor, Admiral Rains stood silently before the viewing glass. Below him, Earth shone blue and alive, oceans calm, cities reborn. He thought of the children once caged and crying under alien skies, now running freely through the fields of their home. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Judgment is complete." His young officer approached slowly. "Sir," she said softly, "the Council of Allied Worlds has sent another request. They ask if humanity will join them in rebuilding the galactic order." Rains smiled faintly. "Order," he said. "They once called that slavery." The officer hesitated. "Should I prepare a response?" Rains nodded. "Tell them humanity will not rule. We will guard, that is our purpose now." Across the galaxy, alien worlds slowly healed. On the planet Varus, once ruled by cruelty, human engineers helped rebuild schools and hospitals. Alien children played with human ones under the twin suns. Laughing without fear, they had never seen war, only stories told in hushed voices about a time when the stars themselves burned. To them, humans were not monsters. They were legends, guardians wrapped in silence. But not everyone accepted peace so easily in the dark sector of Velcor. Fragments of the old warlords plotted revenge. They gathered in secret, whispering about striking back. One of them slammed his hand on the table. "Humans cannot control us forever." The others agreed, their pride still blinding them. But as they spoke, the lights in the room dimmed, and a soft hum filled the air. From the shadows, a human projection appeared, no face, no body, just the glowing symbol of Earth. The voice was calm, emotionless. "You are free," it said, "but freedom is not chaos. Disarm your fleets or face judgment again." The warlords froze. None dared to move. When the lights returned, the projection was gone, and every weapon in their vault had vanished. Dismantled by unseen hands, the galaxy understood then. Humanity didn't rule through fear, but through presence, a silent reminder that mercy was always a choice, and cruelty always carried a cost. Years later, historians from a dozen species gathered to write the new galactic charter. At its center was a quote carved into the first stone tablet: "Never cage the innocent, never silence the weak, for somewhere, humanity is listening." On Earth, the children who had once been captives grew into leaders. They taught peace, kindness, and the strength to protect without hatred. In their schools, they spoke of the day the fleets returned, not as a day of revenge, but as the day humanity remembered who they were. The story of the caged children became a lesson across every world, a warning, and a promise. In orbit, Admiral Rains watched one final transmission. It was from the last surviving alien emperor. Now an old man, his voice trembled as he said, "I once ruled 1,000 worlds, now I see that one Earth was enough to humble them all. You did not destroy us, you taught us what we never knew. Mercy." Rains smiled gently. "Then our judgment is complete," he whispered. He turned to his crew. "Deactivate the judgment code." All across the fleet, the red lights dimmed, replaced by soft blue glows. The fleet that once burned empires now drifted as guardians of peace. From deep space, the human AI sent one final message to every inhabited system. Its signal carried no threat, no command. Just a simple sentence spoken in every tongue. "This judgment is complete, live wisely, for mercy is watching." On a quiet meadow beneath Earth's dawn, a little girl looked up at the sky. She pointed at the bright line of ships orbiting far above and asked her mother, "Will they ever come back?" Her mother smiled softly. "Only if we forget," she said. The child nodded, holding her mother's hand. And somewhere beyond the clouds, the judgment fleet turned slowly in the light, its steel wings shining like silver feathers. The galaxy slept under that light, not in fear but in understanding, because every empire that had fallen, every world that had burned, had learned one eternal truth. Humanity does not forgive cruelty, but it always remembers mercy. And so, as the stars glowed above, the name human echoed softly through the universe, not as a warning but as a promise. A promise that some lights once lit never go out, a promise that judgment may end but humanity endures forever.